And I'm also very pleased to welcome back to the show. You know, she hasn't been with us recently, though she's been with us a few times before, and she will be back. She's a psychotherapist in Connecticut, and I invited her to come on today and really talk about a very important issue that we can all relate to. These days, it seems like more than ever in terms of feeling safe in the world. Welcome back to Connecticut psychotherapist Judith Barr. Hi, Judith.
Hi, Mary. I'm glad to be back with you.
Well, thank you. And again, I haven't had the pleasure of saying Happy New Year to you, so let me start by saying that.
Thank you, and to you too, Mary.
Thank you. Well, and again, I know Judith, and Judith's website, by the way, is powerabusedpowerhealed.com, and I know that one of the areas that you have written about and do a lot of work on is one that is so important, as I mentioned, in terms of feeling safe in the world. And these days, Judith, oh my goodness.
Yes.
More so than ever.
Yes. Yes.
So for folks who are, as most of us are, for all of us who are, thinking about that, wondering about that, maybe feeling a little anxious, what advice do you have from us? Let me start by just asking that loaded question.
What advice do I have? Great question, Mary. The major thing that's important for us to realize is that when we feel unsafe, we do perhaps feel unsafe in the here and now, as with things that are going on in our world today. Mm-hmm. But the intensity of the feelings of unsafety is most often because our very young feelings of unsafety get triggered. And our very young feelings of feeling powerless in the face of unsafety gets triggered. And just imagine you're here and now, you're an adult, you're watching things that are happening in the world far away and up close, and you feel unsafe, and you don't realize that perhaps there's a baby inside you that's still alive from when you were a baby, that was unsafe in some way. Perhaps you had croup and you couldn't catch your breath, or perhaps your mother came into your room when you cried and was always angry at you when she came in, or something that was particular to your childhood. And that when you're feeling unsafe in today's world, that little baby is also feeling unsafe. That little baby that did not have a way to think about what was happening, that little baby that was powerless in the face of what was happening. And if you're here and now feeling unsafe and you don't realize that the intensity of those feelings is from back when you were a child, you're going to feel even more unsafe because you're not going to be able to make clear decisions. You're not going to be able to tease apart what was then from what was now so that you can see now clearly. And one of the things I often invite people to do, Mary, is imagine you're you in the here and now in an adult body, with an adult personality, but it's the child that's driving you. It's that little baby, perhaps, that's driving you. And you're not aware that while you're trying to figure out your finances or how to save your home or how to get along in an earthquake or how to protect yourself from bombings, you're not aware that inside yourself, you're a little baby lying in a crib, flailing, perhaps screaming, or perhaps shut down.
Wow. That's powerful stuff, Judith. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I will comment on, other than the fact that really is powerful and how darn compelling, the thought that's running through my mind is how darn true, of course, that is in terms of our childhood baggage, and I'll use that word. I don't know if you like that word, but for lack of a better one, the childhood baggage, the experiences we have when we were little girls, little boys, they never really leave us, do they?
First of all, I want to respond to the word and the fact that you said you don't know how I feel about it. I found that people cringe in response to it. They feel like they're being blamed. So I prefer just to talk about childhood wounds.
There you go.
Which is true for all of us.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I just think it has heart to it. It has an understanding of what it's like for people to hear about what's happening to them.
Yes.
So ask me your question again. I got really focused on that.
No, that's okay. And just the comment that those childhood wounds, the experiences that we have as little boys and little girls, that they never really leave us, do they?
Well, they don't leave us, Mary, but I have been in this work that I just love, working with people, helping them to heal wounds for many, many years. And as I do work with people, I see that if you will go back to those wounds, and if you will find what defenses you've built to defend yourself against experiencing the feelings and how you shape your life to keep from feeling those feelings, and if you can dissolve the defenses and build the capacity to go back and feel those feelings that you have been spending so much time and energy holding at bay, you can dissolve the charge, you can dissolve the focus of your life being around that, you can free up energy, and the changes people make just by doing that, they are amazing. I mean, I've had people have changes. Some of them are slower, some of them are faster. It's not a quick fix by any means, and I know our world is really set on quick fixes right now, but that's not going to help us with the issues that are most important to us. But I've seen people do a piece of work where they get closer and closer to those very primal feelings that they've been defending against, and things start changing inside them. They'll say to me, I feel different. I'm acting different. You know, if you're terrified of feeling powerless because you were powerless as a baby, a child, which of course we all were, up to a point, you know, a lot of it depended on how much power our parents gave us to impact them. If you're terrified of being powerless, and every time you have that alarm bell go off inside you that you're powerless, if what you do is to lash out, to strike out, to rage, to hurt somebody else, by virtue of you're not working through those issues about your own experience with powerlessness, you're creating danger in your world today.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Connecticut psychotherapist Judith Barr, talking about feeling safe in the world. And one of the thoughts that, Judith, I was having as I was listening, and you're just making such wonderful points, you know, it's so true. I think a lot about the fact that balance in life is so key, isn't it, in everything. And this is just a very significant example of that, in terms of we don't want our childhood experiences, those wounds, to consume us, because we don't want to have our life consumed by them. We certainly don't want to ignore them either. It really is that balance in terms of figuring out how to deal with them so we can live our life in a healthy way.
Yes, and I'm going to come back to the issue of feelings. People are terrified of feelings, and I think in our supposedly modern culture, it's even worse than ever. Well, if you're terrified of feelings, in addition to when you were a little baby or a little child, some feelings were too much for you to bear, but if now, like, society is like, don't feel, medicate, exercise, work it off, stay away from feelings.
Good point.
How much balance is that? We cannot really heal these wounds. We cannot really create safety inside us and in our world if we can't build the capacity to feel, to go through the feelings, and to come out the other side.
And the key to doing that in a healthy way?
Well, there's some steps people can do on their own, and then there are some steps that usually people need a really good therapist to do it with. The steps you can do on your own are when you're feeling something in the here and now, you can gauge on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the intensity of those feelings. Now, if you're standing right in front of a bear in the woods, or if somebody's tied you to the railroad tracks and the train's coming, that would warrant a here and now 10. But other than that, anything much past a 1 or a 2 is a pretty good indicator that you're feeling something from the past. So draw a boundary between the feeling and acting on it, and either then and there, if you can, or later, go back and start feeling it, feeling that feeling, wondering when you felt it before, tracking back the feeling to earlier and earlier experiences. That's what people can start to do on their own. Since people are so afraid of feeling, they usually will need somebody who isn't afraid of feeling. A good therapist who isn't afraid of feeling and has a lot of integrity can really help with that, help you really build the capacity to go back and go through the feeling and see what you can create on the other side, see the kind of safety you can even create inside yourself on the other side.
And I know you have an article, Judith, on your website. Again, it's powerabusedpowerhealed.com on doing just that in terms of what to look for in a therapist or a healer or a spiritual teacher.
Yes, I do, Mary.
And so that would be great. That would be great to check. A question, Judith, that is going to sound, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say silly, but I don't mean it in a trite way. In your experience, when you're talking about once you ask yourself that question on a scale of 1 to 10 and you come in at a 2 and 3 and then you commit to explore those intense feelings a little later on, have you found any difference in terms of gender, in terms of men and women being able to do that, being interested to do that is probably the better question, or not?
Well, sadly, in my experience, I've found women more interested in doing it. And I say sadly not because I'm sad that women do it. I just wish that it would be across the board.
Yeah, that was my guess, and that's why I asked the question, just really more out of curiosity than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, but also think of it. Men are often men have just as many as children, as little babies, just as many experiences of unsafety and of powerlessness as women do.
That's right.
And then they're taught they have to be powerful, and they're taught it in a way that that can't possibly be really truly healthy and sustainable, because it's ignoring the fact that they've done it over top of that sense of powerlessness that's never had a chance to be healed.
Judith Barr is with us today. Judith, as I've said to you before when we've spoken, I knew we would run out of time before we run out of things to talk about. I'm so appreciative of your time today, of your expertise. powerabusedpowerhealed.com is her website. Judith Barr with 2 R's. She lives in Connecticut. She is a psychotherapist, as I mentioned. And one of the things that I often have said when we've talked before and want to reiterate, Judith, is that, just the sense of control, and there's where the power comes in, that we do have that control over our lives. We do have a lot more power over our lives than some people realize, than many people take advantage of, and I find that very exciting.
Yes, we do have we have the possibility for healthy power.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Judith.
I would like to say one more thing.
Yes, very, very quickly.
I just want to say for people to take this in about safety, that with each choice you make not to hurt people today, in the here and now, yourself and others, for what happened in your past, you're helping to create safety in your world and in our world at large in relation to your own young feelings and decisions.
Judith, thank you so much. Judith Barr, powerabusedpowerhealed.com is her website. We will keep in touch.
Okay, Mary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.